The OTT is a proud member of the Tech Podcast Network found at www.techpodcast.com. If it's tech, it's here. And it's brought to you this week by Audible.com. Go over to audible.com and download yourself an audiobook and a 14-day free trial by going over to audiblepodcast.com/geekazine. audiblepodcast.com/geekazine. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, Jeffrey Powers here, and I got a little frog in my throat. I don't know why. Excuse me. How you doing? Jeffrey Powers here. Welcome to the OTT, over-the-top television at its best. If you deal in IPTV, in satellite TV, cutting your cable, internet TV of any way, shape, or form, then this show is right for you because we're going to be talking about the cool news of over-the-top television. I'm here with my usual guest, Gabriel Guzman. Hopefully I pronounced that right?
Yeah, pretty much. Gabriel Guzman.
All right, and where can people get a hold of you, Gabriel?
On Twitter, Master Wolf instead of an L1, and on Google Plus, and like always, we'll have the link on our show notes.
All right, perfect. Well, we got a pretty interesting week of over-the-top television. We had some news, and of course, the big Steve Jobs news that happened a couple days ago. That's been rocking the world, but we do have a lot of OTT news, and we're going to get into it right now. We're going to start over at broadcastengineering.com. It's a new website that I've never really been to too much, but they're basically talking about the games, the Fun Spot games that are now available on your Roku 2 streaming player. And I'm going to tell you something, Gabriel. I played a couple of those games and wasn't too impressed with the games. They have Texas Hold'em, they have Mahjong Fruits and Dracula's Coffin, Rock Swap Adventures, Kaboom Sudoku, Patience, and they're all 99 cents each, so they're pretty cheap, and you really get a cheap game for a cheap price. So, do you have a Roku at all, Gabriel?
Not at the moment.
Oh, okay. Well, you're planning to get one, right?
Yeah. But right now, my OTT is my Xbox 360 and my PS3.
Okay. So, would you want to play? Now, we talked about Angry Birds before, and that's actually a pretty decent game. It's not too different than if you downloaded it for your phone or if you downloaded it for the Chrome browser or anything like that. And you use the remote pretty well. But these games by FunSpot are kind of cheesy. They're kind of like the 99-cent game packs you get at Best Buy with your PC or for your PC. So I suppose things are going to get a little bit better as we go along, but for now, I don't really recommend too much on these games. They're even talking about some sort of way that you can interact with other people on the game. Like with the Texas Hold'em, you're supposed to be playing with other people, but I don't think that that's the case. So, yeah, you should be able to get it with the HD, the XD, and the Roku 2 XS.
Well, I mean, if it's good if it means more proliferation of apps onto the Roku and devices like it, but I mean, yeah, they all look pretty generic, kind of like what GameLoft does for the iOS and the Android system. But I mean, from the picture that I'm going through the website, the Texas Hold'em looks pretty the most decent one at least.
Yeah, I played the other game. There were like 3 games that I downloaded, and one of them was like this diamond thing where you basically you have the diamonds and the squares and stuff like that, and you're supposed to switch 2 of them to create rows of 3, which was it was decent, but once again it was very very choppy, very choppy. I'd personally wait if anybody wants to buy a game. Personally wait because these are not really to par. And plus, if you do download the games, they said once the other games, like there's going to be supposed to be a version of Pac-Man that comes onto the Roku. You can only have so many games on it unless you put in a 2 GB micro SD card, and then it'll store more game information. But if you don't have that on your Roku, then you can only pretty much put 2 games into the Roku.
Well, what is your current Roku's hard drive space or data storage space?
Data storage is actually only, I think it was like 256 megabytes, which I still thought was pretty low because it didn't change from the XDS to the XS. I thought they'd at least bump it up to 512 megabytes, but that's it's not the case. They figure, you're just buffering video for the most part.
Yeah, I guess, but I mean, yeah, that is true. I mean, if they're going to release more deeper apps, you probably need to upgrade your storage.
Yeah. So, anyway, that's over at broadcastengineering.com. You need to get yourself a Roku there, Gabriel. They're only $59. Actually, if you go over to geekazine.com/Roku, you can get yourself a Roku. That's geekazine.com/Roku. And go from there. So let's move on here. We're going over to ZDNet on this next article, and they're talking about Apple TV finally dropping the TV rentals. That you could rent TV shows for $1.99 per episode, or for the season if that's complete. I know I just saw Royal Pains for like $9.99. Now this is just TV shows; it's not movies. But you could basically for $1.99 it gave people 30 days to watch their rentals, and then once they start watching them, they had 48 hours to complete them. The response wasn't that overwhelming, therefore they decided that they're not going to continue on with that and go from there. So, any thoughts on that? On the Apple TV there?
Well, I'm really surprised about this. I guess because most people I know usually buy the whole seasons. They either This is how most people I know that watch TV go through it. They either go through it live TV, or they get the whole season and watch it back to back. Because I know a lot of people tend to not like waiting 1 week for the new episode. So that's why I guess this is why they didn't like to rent the episodes and just buy the whole season when it came out.
That's true. And in fact, when we talked about it last week with Fox, and how Fox wants to do a 1 week wait on Hulu, and I'm actually, to be perfectly straightforward with all of you guys, I'm ready to actually ditch my Hulu because I don't watch anything on Hulu that I couldn't get for free from the free service. So I've been paying $8 for literally a bunch of junk. The only real thing I got into on Hulu through Hulu Plus was one of their original series, The Booth at the End, and they're doing like these mini series, which is great, but they're only doing like one or two, or one every 2-3 months, unless they got like 4 or 5 shows that I can continually watch. Then I'm going from there. But otherwise, I'm going over to Hulu. I'm seeing what's there, and it's like there's nothing there, and then I'm moving on. I wanted to watch Royal Pains. I wanted to watch Burn Notice through that, and that's why I kept the subscription. But then the subscription turned around and made it so I couldn't watch the movie, or I couldn't watch the TV shows until like 30 days later. And then I forgot about them, and then I went back to look at Burn Notice, and I missed out on 2 episodes already, and they only do like 2 episodes at a time. So it's like there's this very, very thin window for a lot of stuff, and it's really bugging the heck out of me. And I think Hulu needs to kind of nip that in the bud. They got to put up some sort of contract that says, if you're part of this, you got to be part of this for a little bit more than just a sliver of information, because viewers are not going to put up with that at all. They wouldn't put up with it for anything. If cable was to do that, they wouldn't put up for it if even if it was all a la carte, they wouldn't put up for it. So I just think that Hulu needs to buckle down and say, this is the way it's going to be. If you don't want to be on our service, don't be on our service.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. It's kind of like the network heads are completely ignoring the whole point of people cutting their cords. I mean, they don't want to. People do not want to be limited. I mean, if you even if you have Hulu Plus and they start limiting you, you're probably going to stop watching Hulu Plus at all and do something else. Maybe watch more Netflix or go outside.
Wait a minute, go outside? What's that? I don't know what that is. That doesn't sound right. That sounds like a conspiracy or something like that. Have you been outside? That's scary.
Oh, yeah, especially with Irene. Yeah, I
Oh
went to go
yeah,
outside with the East Coast.
yeah. I do. Yeah, we do have to do a shout out to all of our friends out in the on the East Coast that are dealing with Hurricane Irene right now. I definitely my thoughts and my prayers are going out to you guys. I hope everything will get better. And I watched some of the webcam last night in New York City, and that was just it was very dead for 10 o'clock on a Saturday night. Now, granted, if it's like 2 o'clock in the morning on a Wednesday, yeah, I totally understand that. But yeah, for 10 o'clock on a Saturday night, there was almost nobody there, and that was just weird, 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 weird. So anyway, hey, before we switch to the next one, I want to tell you guys we're doing this via Google Hangout. So let me show you this really quick. Gabriel, you can't see that because I go through a different camera. This is the Google Hangout. You can be part of this Google Hangout if you want to talk about over-the-top television. You just basically let me know. Go over to Google Plus, find me, Jeffrey Powers. Of course, you can find me through the show notes. I'm down here on this camera right now, and you can get that information. And then I put you into the OTT circle, and then we do it every single Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That you can come on and talk about over the top television, give us your input, your thoughts, your beliefs, or anything else. And that's how we're doing this on this Google Hangout. So pretty successful so far. I hope everybody's had a good time watching the other episodes there. All right, let's move on here. Let's go over to precentral.net, and this is an article that you brought into the conversation. This is about the touchpad. Now, first of all, did you get your touchpad? Did you get a touchpad?
Yes. Yep. I got the 32 gigs for
Really?
$150.
Nice. Congratulations. Hey, look what I got.
Oh wow. Is it?
It's
Oh, that's the original case.
it's a case. Yes, I ordered. Now I think I got to return. I don't know if I have to return it or not, but they didn't charge me, and they still sent the case anyway, which means I probably should return it. But yeah, so yeah, I ordered a whole bunch of stuff because I thought I had 3 or 4 touchpads coming, and all 4 of them got yeah, it was 4 touchpads. All 4 of them got turned down. One of them was from Barnes and Noble, and I talked about it in an article how they should have they dropped the ball on that. They should have given us a gift certificate to purchase a Nook for $150. Because if that would have been the case, I would have been out there buying a color Nook right now, like $50 for a Nook and $100 for a color Nook. That would have made the most sense, and their customers wouldn't have revolted. But there were a lot of people revolting because of the HP touchpad, and it was kind of frustrating. But anyway, excuse me. We'll go over to precentral.net, and we're talking about Hulu blocking touchpad owners from watching videos. Now we go from my rant about Hulu. What since you brought this to the table, why don't you talk a little bit about it?
Well, not to go into too much of a rant here, but I pretty much got the HP touchpad. Let me see. I ordered it like the 20th when it actually went on before Amazon went on sale with it, and I got it around the 22nd. So out for like 2 days, I was actually had access to all of Hulu. I mean, like we talked about before, most of the Hulu content is Hulu Plus right now.
Yeah.
Well, at least like Family Guy and American Dad. So I mean, I don't really watch that much stuff, but I mean, I actually had access to it. It was kind of clunky. I mean, I think that's probably just the touchpad because um I don't know if you ever used a touchpad where it's kind of like a little bit buggy and slow,
Hmm.
but yeah, and it's just really pissed pissed me off because I had complete access to it, and then for no reason, just because uh given the fact that like even if you have a Hulu Plus account, you don't even have the access to Hulu Plus at all.
Oh,
So it's
really?
not just the fact about it, like you even if you gave them the 8.99 or 7.99 a month, you still would not have access to it with your HP touchpad.
Now, what I don't get about it is nobody has a touchpad 3G. Nobody has a touchpad 4G. Nobody has, they just have the Wi-Fi model touchpads in the 16 or 32 gigabyte models. If they have anything 3G or 4G, it was a prototype, and somebody's got their lucky hands on it. But
Yeah.
the reality is that there's no reason why Hulu can't stream to the tablet, and it just doesn't make much sense unless there's some sort of um, Nielsen rating algorithm or something like that that it can't pull from a touchpad to watch videos. And further, was there ever a cable that you could actually hook this up to an external source, like an iPad or something like that, where you could hook it up to a projector or a TV?
Actually, here's the funny part, because you can there's people that have found a way to do it. You have to connect your HP touchpad to your computer with the USB cable,
Okay.
and then kind of run some commands from the command line. So you can like kind of like hack the through your touchpad to so Hulu thinks it's not a touchpad.
Okay.
But so yeah, in a way you can do that.
Well, it'd be interesting to see if anybody tries to find a way to circumvent this. And
Yeah,
excuse me.
that's what I was saying. They have found it, but it's just kind of like too cumbersome for the average user.
Oh, okay.
Because
Okay.
like you have to go through like a Linux command line and type a lot of code in. So I mean, definitely not for your average user, but for those, if there's a way, people will find it.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. So, all right. Well, precentral.net for more information on that. And we'll get into the next story. But first of all, we got to talk for a minute about audible.com, audiblepodcast.com/geekazine. If you're like me, I don't like to read. I hate to read. It's kind of dead print for me. But it, and I lose my focus. And that's why I like audible.com. I can find a book, and if I'm on the right revision of the book, I can listen to it and read it at the exact same time. So I've been listening to some great books there. And it depends on what you're reading. Like right now, the one book that I always go back to is The 4 Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss, and it's a great book. I downloaded it the audiobook a couple years ago, and I still listen to it. It's on my iPhone in the iPod section, and I just pick it up when I need some inspiration. I pick it up and I listen to it, or I read and I listen and go from there. So you can give it a try for yourself. There's a 14-day free trial, and you get one free audiobook, and then every month they give you another free. I think it's another free audiobook. And but of course you can buy credits and get more books and go from there. So, and I think it's normally $14.99 a month, but first month is our first 14 days are free with the free download. All you have to do is go to audiblepodcast.com/geekazine. Once again, that's audiblepodcast.com/geekazine, and you can start your free trial of Audible. So get your reading and get reading now, or listening to reading now. So anyway, let's get back into the OTT here. We're going to go over to Ars Technica, however you want to say it. And we're going to be talking about the Boxee iPad application is now on Media Manager. Now, Boxee is probably the most well, it's free. If you've got a computer, you can get the Boxee app and you can have it on your computer, and you can have an over-the-top television solution right here, right now. But if you've got an iPad, you can have an over-the-top television solution on your iPad. So for those of you who have the touchpad, well, you're kind of out of luck. But if you got an iPad, you can get that going and go from there. Now, Gabriel, I'm gonna pose this question. I'm gonna pose this to you. Even though you can't get it on the touchpad, or at least they don't have a touchpad version just yet, as far as I saw. Um, Once you get it, I'm. What would you think that if all of a sudden things like Netflix, and I know Hulu does have an application on the Boxee. At least last time I remember, they had an application on the Boxee. So would they? I think they'd start blocking those apps. That's where I'm getting at with it. What's your thoughts on that? Do you think that this will become a useful application, or it will just become something that some people can circumvent the original problem of not being able to watch stuff, and then until they actually fix it and go, hey, you can't watch it on the Boxee either.
Well, that's a kind of a big question. It all depends. I mean, if it really proliferates into the iPad and people are using it a lot, and if the people that make the Boxy app can find some way to monetize this, then obviously they will actually keep it and not block anything. But on the other hand, if they start making no money and they get some DMCA takedowns from companies, they'll probably start blocking stuff.
Well, they wouldn't get a DMCA takedown for these because they're third party apps. It's kind of like if you had a game in the iTunes store and it violated some copyright, Apple would not be involved unless you did some major refusal or something like that. So it would have to go way past the creator first, because all this stuff on here, all these channels are created by people like you and me. In fact, Geekazine does have a Boxy app out there, and you can watch a lot of the video on Boxee from Geekazine. But if I put something that all of a sudden I'd get a takedown notice for, they'd have to go to me. They wouldn't go to Boxee first, and that's part of the terms of service, if I remember correctly.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So like, goes. I don't know if you remember. I hate to bring this up, but Rebecca Black, she actually filed a DMCA for her own video, which is so ridiculous. But so it wouldn't go through the app; it would go to her then.
Yeah. Well, she did a DMCA on YouTube, and I guess she didn't read the fine print correctly, because what happened was they ended up taking down her stuff because she put it into the takedown notice, and they weren't forgiving. Let's put it that way. So
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Cause like, if it's all original content, unless they're crazy people like that, I doubt it's gonna go down.
yeah, that's true. That's true. So, well, we'll have to see if there comes out something for your touchpad, or are you planning to actually try and mod your touchpad to become an Android machine?
Oh, that there's a long way from that. I mean, right now you can actually technically buy a touchpad with a 2.2.1, which I think is Froyo, I think. Yeah, I think that's Froyo because 2.3 is gingerbread.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yes.
but it's not really optimized to use the a tablet. It's more for a phone, so it's kind of like weird. But yeah,
Yeah.
you can technically buy from eBay a touchpad running 2.2.1,
Yeah.
but I
And
wouldn't really recommend it.
well, it's kind of like buying a beta version of a program. There's a ton of bugs to it, because it's not intended for the device itself. So yeah, and it's a bunch of open source people writing open source code. So whenever it gets done, it gets done. So within a year or two, I could see the development of a touchpad in there, and adaptation. But then again, it's all about if somebody sits down, takes the time to do it.
But I mean, right now I did kind of like patch my iPads to make it run. It runs much faster than it did, and you can even overclock it.
Yes, I had a Stephen Haywood over at the Tech Buzz actually overclocked his new touchpad to 1.5 gigahertz. So that's pretty cool. All right,
Yeah.
let's move on to the next article here. Last article of the evening. That's over at Broadband TV News. Eric Schmidt has basically said, okay, yeah, we are doing a UK launch for Google TV. Of course, we talked about it last week, and we talked about all the patents that they just bought from Motorola. And the most important thing is how will they adapt into over-the-top television, IPTV? If this is some way to fight what they've been fighting about ever since they started last year, because there were part of it was content providers not wanting to push on Google TV. The other one was patent issues. So if they've got some of that stuff worked out, they're gonna take another run for it. And I see a lot of people that liked what Sony with Google TV came out with, and then the review not as great, but there were still a lot of people that have tried it and were going, I'm kind of impressed with it, and I can't wait to see what happens if they do any updates or anything like that.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised. I know we kind of talked about it a little bit with the patents that Google was acquiring from buying Motorola Mobility, and I was kind of like a pessimist saying, "Oh no, they're gonna take a long time." And you were actually, I guess I was wrong, and you were right. So
Well, it's
there,
it's it's still not a done deal. All they're doing is they're saying, yeah, the UK is going to get Google TV, which they're different rules and regulations over there, and a smaller test market for to boot. So, and that's not even going to happen for I think it was like they said 6 months or something like that.
yeah,
So it's not a totally done deal, and Google could instantly say, we don't want this is too much hassle. We need to move on to a different direction. Maybe look at this a little bit later and go back in. So
yeah, they just kind of gotta throw a little bit more money around.
yeah, well, not as much throwing money around, but kind of getting inspired. I suppose you could say.
But yeah, that's good, man. We need more competition. We need more people trying to get more content providers to, I guess, persuade them to put more content in there because we do not want something to happen like Hulu Plus where everybody just gets stuff taken down, and even in Netflix that I know you were talking about. I think last week that Sony was taking down some of their movies from Netflix.
Yeah,
So
they took down all their Sony video from Netflix. So even if I watch Stars on Netflix, yeah, I couldn't watch like the Social Network or I can't think of any other Sony titles right now. But I basically would get the screen that says you cannot watch this video, and then I'd have to wait for that movie to get over to then continue to watch. So it's kind of frustrating because there's a lot of movies that I wanted to watch, and kind of like Hulu, I feel that I'm strangled a little bit on Netflix's selection. And speaking of Netflix's selection, tomorrow, or actually Wednesday, is the day that Netflix is going to change your subscription model from rental and streaming to either rental or streaming. So, which one do you have Netflix? And if so, which one did you choose?
yeah, I share my account with my brother. Uh, we're gonna stick with the streaming, or at least I told him that I would at least pay for half of it, the streaming, and then he'll pay for the DVDs. Although he doesn't really use the DVDs at all. I
Yeah,
know we have a stack at the house that they've been there for months and we don't even use them.
yeah. Well, if you do choose one or the other, ladies and gentlemen, and anybody out there, you got to think about this because I did the one movie and streaming package, and I have Empire Strikes Back sitting up there, and I've had it sitting up there for 6 to 8 weeks or something like that. I was going to watch it and get to the next movie, but the reality was that I didn't watch it, and it's still sitting there. Well, September 1st is going to come along, and they're going to expect you to send it back. And I have a feeling that within a week or two, you'll get a charge on your credit card that for whatever discs you have still out there. And I think that they're going to do that very quick and very swiftly. And all of a sudden you'll notice it and you'll complain. We'll complain about it. That's for sure. But they'll if they're switching over, I don't think they said anything about when you have to return your movie back. So once you make the switch, if you choose streaming only and you still have discs, you might want to get those discs back to Netflix. Otherwise, they're going to charge you $40 to $60 a disc because that's part of their terms of service. If you keep the disc for a certain amount of time, they're going to assume that you want to keep it, and then they're going to eventually charge you for that disc. So, did you know that was in your terms of service there, Gabriel?
No, actually, I will tell my brother right now, actually. Thank you. This is actually a really good service for the community.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if you're like me. I don't really read 30 pages of terms of service.
Yeah. Well, that was the big one. That there's a lot of websites that outline what the terms of service are, and basically it's just they've got to cover themselves. They say you can hold on. It's just like Blockbuster too. You can hold on to that disc for as long as you want, but at some point in time, they're going to say, "Hey, you either got to return it, or we're going to charge you for that disc." And I have a feeling that they're not going to be too forgiving once September 1st comes around and you say, "I want streaming only," because then you'll all of a sudden they'll start saying, "Well, you got discs out there, and we're just going to charge you for those discs. So here's a $60 charge. Here's a 40, whatever the price they put the price in on the disc."
So get them discs in, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes.
If you don't want to get charged some money.
Very, very much so. All right, Gabriel, why don't you tell us once again how people can get a hold of you? You got the Twitter handle?
Yeah, the Twitter handle, Master Wolf. Instead of an L, you put a 1 in there. And Google Plus, and like always, we'll have everything in the show notes.
All right. Got any plans for this holiday weekend? We're not going to do a show next week, by the way. We'll be back in 2 weeks because the band is playing almost every day during the weekend. So I'll be playing. We're playing. We have a local ferry up north. They do a ferry crossing party during Labor Day. So we're gonna travel our cars across the water, and then we're gonna go to a local tavern and play for the evening. So there will not be a OTT next week. But got any plans for the holiday Labor Day weekend?
No, not really. Actually, yeah. Just kind of. I'll probably be working actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So yeah, that's one of my plans. I'll be working through the weekend.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll have fun with that, and then we'll come back in 2 weeks. You'll be back 2 weeks from now, right?
Yeah, I should be back.
Okay, perfect, perfect. Well, that does it for the OTT. My name is Jeffrey Powers. Thanks a lot to Gabriel. Once again, if you want to be part of the OTT, just let me know. We do this on a Google Plus Hangout session. I'll show you that screen once again. You can wave hi there, Gabriel. You're on the Google Hangout. And we do this every single week, so you go over to Google Plus and you make sure you have a headset. And, of course, your computer is fixed in a nice position so we don't get a bunch of wavy lines and stuff like that. But then you can join us and join in on the discussion on over-the-top television, IPTV, and so on and so forth. We'll be back, like I said, we'll be back in 2 weeks with another show. And until then, thanks a lot for watching. My name is Jeffrey Powers, and we'll see you next time. Take care.